Our main lesson. In this learning episode, we will find a detailed overview into what deciles are and the step-by-step process of finding the deciles of group data. Deciles are those values that divide the total frequency into 10 equal parts. There are 9 deciles which are denoted by d sub 1, d sub 2, and so on up to d sub 9. The kth decile, denoted by d sub k, is computed using the formula where LB is the lower boundary of the d sub k class, n is the total frequency, Cf sub b is the cumulative frequency before the d sub k class, f sub d sub k is the frequency of the d sub k class, I is the size of the class interval, and k is the nth decile where n is equal to 1, 2, until 9. Here are the steps in finding the deciles for group data. Step 1. To be able to solve the problem, we must complete the table by adding a column for less than cumulative frequency. Step 2. Compute for the position to determine d sub k class. Step 3. Set the given facts for the identified decile class. And Step 4. Set the formula, substitute the variables using the given facts, and then evaluate. Let's have this example. Sam collects plastic bottles every month from the 50 houses in his barangay. The data for the collection last month is summarized in the table below. Find d sub 7 and interpret the result. For step 1, to be able to solve the problem, we must complete the table by adding a column for less than cumulative frequency. In getting the cumulative frequency, all you need to do is to add the frequencies from the nearest class interval to the greatest class interval. So just copy 4, and then 4 added by 9 is 13. 13 plus 10 is 23, and so on until we verified that there are 50 number of houses in the barangay. After completing the table, let's have step 2. Compute for the position to determine d sub 7 class. Using this formula, we will able to find where the decile 7 is located. So let's substitute the values of k and n, and that will become 7 times 50 divided by 10. What do you think is the answer? Correct! It's a 35. This means we need to find the class interval where the 35th way is contained. Let us proceed to step 3. Set the given facts for the identified decile class. Let's determine the lower boundary or LB, wherein the lowest number in the interval will be subtracted to 0.5. So 12 minus 0.5 is equal to 11.5. Next, n, or the total number of frequency, which is 50. Now, what is the cumulative frequency before the d sub 7 class? Correct, it's 23. How about the frequency of D7 class? Yes, it's 12. And the size of the class interval is 3. And our kn over 10, or the position of d sub 7, is 35. For the last step, set the formula for decile 7, substitute and evaluate. Write the final answer and put the analysis. And that gives us the answer of correct! The value of decile 7 is 14.5. Therefore, 70% of the houses gave less than or equal to 14.5 kilograms of plastic bottles to Sam. Let's try another example. Calculate the second decile and eighth decile of the mathematics test scores of 50 students. Do you still remember what the step 1 is? Yes. Add a column for less than cumulative frequency. Always remember that to calculate the less than cumulative frequency, we must add the frequencies from the nearest class interval to the greatest class interval. Since the nearest class interval is 21 to 25 and its frequency is 6, we will just copy 6. Next, 6 plus 12 is 18. Then, 18 plus 9 is equal to 27. And so on until we verify that there are 50 students who took the exam. After completing the table, compute for the position to determine the D sub 2 class. Using this formula, we will able to find where the second decile is located. What will be our answer if we substitute and evaluate the values of k and n? Yes, it's 10. In what cumulative frequencies does the 10th position belong to? Good! The 10th position is between the cumulative frequencies 7 to 18th, which are belong to class interval 26 to 30. After we determine the D sub 2 class, let's proceed to step 3. Set the given facts for the identified decile class. To get the lower boundary or LB, we have to subtract the lower limit of the decile 2 class by 0.5. So, 26 minus 0.5 will be equal to 25.5. Next, n, or the total number of frequency, is equal to 50. Then, the cumulative frequency before the D sub 2 class is 6. After that is the frequency of the D sub 2 class, which is equal to 12. While the size of class interval is 5. And last, our kn over 10, or the position of D sub 2, is 10. At last, set the formula for D sub 2, substitute and evaluate. It gives us the answer of correct, 27.17. Therefore, 20% of the students got a score less than or equal to 27.17. Let's apply what we've learned so far. Try to answer this example 3 using the previous frequency distribution table. Again, what is the first thing to do? Correct! We have to add column for less than cumulative frequency. And to calculate the less than cumulative frequency, we will add all the frequencies from the frequency of the nearest class interval to the greatest class interval. Let's copy 6. Next, 6 plus 12 will be equal to 18. Then 18 plus 9 will be equal to 27. And so on until we verify that there are 50 students who took the exam. After completing the table, what is the next step? Yes, that's right. Compute for the position to determine 8th class. Using the formula, substitute the values of k and n, evaluate, and it will give us an answer of 40. In what cumulative frequencies does the 40th position belong to? That's correct. The 40th position is between the cumulative frequencies 39 to 46, which are belong to class interval 41 to 45. What's next after we determine the 8th decile class? Right. Set the given facts for the identified decile class. Let us write the value of the lower boundary and the total number of frequency. How about the cumulative frequency before the 8th class? The frequency of the 8th decile class What is the size of the class interval? And last, kn over 10 or the position of 8 decile. For the last step, set the formula for d sub 8, substitute and evaluate. And that gives us the answer of 41.75. Good job! Therefore, 80% of the students got a score less than or equal to 41.75. Now, let us answer the following activities. For Activity 1 practice, complete the table and calculate the D sub 2 and D sub 7 of the mathematics test course of 40 students. Write the given facts for the identified decile class. For Activity number 2, keep practicing. Complete the table and answer the following questions. Write your answer on your notebook. For our last activity, test yourself. The table is the distribution of the number of mistakes 42 students made in solving 20 arithmetic sequence. Complete the table and calculate the D sub 3, D sub 4, D sub 6, and 9 of the number of mistakes given the frequency. To wrap it up, deciles are those values that divide the total frequency into 10 equal parts. There are 9 deciles which are denoted by D sub 1, D sub 2, up to D sub 9. The kth decile denoted by D sub k is computed using the formula where LB is the lower boundary of the D sub k class, N is the total frequency, CF sub B is the cumulative frequency before the D sub k class, F sub D sub k is the frequency of the D sub k class, I is the size of the class interval, and k is the nth decile where n is equal to 1, 2, 3, up to 9. For our reflection, what concrete real-life events that showcases the above quotation? Success is not measured by the position one has reached in life, rather by the obstacles one overcomes while trying to succeed. Let us answer the post-test. Lisa's teacher summarized the mathematics summative test results of her class in the table below. Read each statement carefully and choose the letter of the best answer. Good job! I hope you have learned something today. See you again in our next module.